Hello from the 11th inning stretch. My name is Paul Epi. I am joined by Alex Snyder, as usual. Alex, it is good to see you. And this is our podcast, basically our first half review podcast for the entire Major League. You know, we go back to our predictions from the beginning of the season as to who wins each division and wild card and stuff. We'll review those, make fun of each other for missing stuff, and then we'll go review our Rookie of the Year, MVPs for both leagues, and Cy Young as well. Alex, why don't you get us started? We'll go with the American League first. Let's see, let me pull up my notes here. You had the Mariners in the West, Indians in the Central, Red Sox in the East. Let me know your thoughts on how you're doing so far halfway through the season.
Last time I checked, I believe the Indians were still leading the Central.
By a large margin, yeah. Or not a large margin, but comfortable margin.
The Mariners are not leading theirs. They were for a while, and they have fallen back. The Red Sox, last time I saw, were still leading theirs as well.
Just to review real quick, the Orioles are up by 2 games over the Red Sox, 4 games over the Blue Jays. The Central, the Indians are up by 6.5 over the Tigers. And then the West, the Rangers are up 4.5 over the Astros.
Okay, so, I mean, there's a lot of baseball left. Mariners may not get in, but the Red Sox still have a lot of time left to get in, which I think that they still will. And then my wild card was Blue Jays versus the Royals in that, and I had the Royals coming out of that one against the Blue Jays to go on and play, actually in the World Series, I believe.
I will say, coming into the season, you picked the Indians, and I was a bit skeptical because we've seen this story before from a lot of teams. But my gosh, man, your Indians pick was spot on. I wish I could say the same about the Mariners, but I mean, if you pick the Indians to do this well before the season started, you are reaping all the benefits, and it's you look pretty smart, that's for sure.
I don't know what I really like their lineup. Bringing in Mike Napoli was a great idea. Jason Kipnis is really good. They have a young stud in Francisco Lindor who's really good at their shortstop. I actually don't know who plays third base for them. Actually,
I will look that up just a second.
But their DH is Carlos Santana, who can play third, first, and can catch. So he's a real big corner piece with them. Just a really good all-around ball club in my eyes. I think that baseball's now turning into which team can consistently play together, and there's only a couple teams like that in the major leagues. A lot of them have a couple superstars, and that used to be how it worked. You had a couple superstars in your lineup, you would win ball games, but now that's not the case. So the Indians were my all-around together team that was pulling ahead for me.
That's a good point. And the third baseman, by the way, is Juan Uribe. He's been floating around for a couple teams, and he's landed on the Indians, and he's found a good spot with them. But I like your point about it used to be, if you had a couple superstars, you're pretty much set. But that's not. It seems like we've sort of transitioned away from that. I'm not going to call Jason Kipnis and Mike Napoli superstars by any means, but if they mesh with guys like Yan Gomes and Rajai Davis and Lonnie Chisenhall, then and that works. That works because they're leading the division by 6.5 games, and their bullpen too has really been good. Cody Allen's one of the best closers in the league that no one seems to ever talk about. And same with their rotation in general. I mean, Kluber, Carrasco, Salazar, Tomlin, and Bauer are all pitching the daylights out, and it's fun to watch. So if you ever have a chance to go watch the Indians, please do. It should be an entertaining game to watch. As for my AL picks, meh, it's not that great. I had the Rangers winning the West, the White Sox in the Central, and the Blue Jays in the East. The White Sox, I think, are basically out of it. The Rangers pick is good, and the Blue Jays, we'll see. You had the Red Sox, and I think it will come down to the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. I'm I'm not a huge fan of the Orioles pitching staff.
I don't think I love the Orioles. They've always been a team that I've kind of liked, and they have a lot of good personalities on their team. I mean,
Absolutely,
but they have multiple superstars on their team, but the rest of their players don't suck. They're still quality players. J.J. Hardy, in my eyes, is not a superstar, but he's still good. Jonathan Scope, he's not a superstar, but he's still good. You know, with players like Chris Davis, Matt Wieters, Adam Jones, Manny Machado to lead the pack of superstars, if that's what you want to say. And then you have Mark Trumbo, who came out of nowhere this year and is trying to become the next Big Papi from the right side.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, they say that hitting in Baltimore is almost as easy as hitting in Colorado, and Mark Trumbo is making that statement pretty true. So I love the Orioles. I think it's great when they get in too. The playoffs just have a whole different feel when the Orioles get in.
I completely agree with that. We saw that back a couple of years ago. But it's just my worry is that rotation. So basically, if they could get a pitcher or two at the deadline, they could be scary good. And the thing is that I just don't think you can depend on Chris Tillman and Giovanni Gallardo and Kevin Gausman and Ubaldo Jimenez to lead a pitching staff. They don't. You know, I'll say this: they're past their prime. I hope they prove me wrong because I would like to see the Orioles win the AL East. But I just feel like that the pitching staff is a bit past their prime.
I can actually see them not only making a move for a pitcher, but I could see them making a move back to Nick Markakis.
That's true.
Because I don't think that the Braves are going to hold on to him. I don't think that it's fair to Nick Markakis or the Braves to hold on to him and expect something more of him out of them when they move stadiums. No. I could see them moving him. I actually do not know who plays right field for the Orioles right now.
Right field is Trumbo.
No, Trumbo's DH.
Trumbo is on the depth chart. He's listed as right field. DH is Pedro Alvarez.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And then Hyun-Soo Kim is their left fielder. So I guess it's sort of a platoon between Trumbo and Pedro Alvarez in the DH.
Wow, I didn't realize that. I mean, that was a good call. I could still see them making a move for Nick Markakis, maybe change around the outfield a little bit, or given the Braves, Pedro Alvarez. He's still fairly young. Yeah. I don't think he's 30 quite yet.
He is 29, so he's approaching the 30.
But other than that, I think the AL, I mean, there's just some good story teams in there, and the Orioles have always been one, and the playoffs seem to be a little bit more lifelike. When the Orioles are in there.
Let me gloss over to the AL Central real quick, and then we'll get to my wild card. You had mentioned the Indians, but once again, the White Sox add pieces during the offseason. They look to be a contender, and they don't go anywhere. They are 500 today. They are 45-45, and they're 8 games back. They're still in it. I'm not going to count them out quite yet completely, but they are starting to inch their way towards the back of the pack. And you have to wonder, are they going to be even sellers at the deadline?
Yes, I would sell.
You think they will be?
I would sell. I'd sell all your big pieces, every single one of them.
So you're suggesting that the White Sox just basically press the self-destruct button?
I think not self-destruct. That's the whole we need to press this. That's just a whole wrong term to use for that. I think it's in baseball, you're good for a while, you're mediocre, you're bad, and then you go into a rebuild. And I think that the White Sox need to go into a rebuild. I get rid of all your big pieces, give pieces back, rebuild.
I want to comment on that on the terminology. I think you're right, but I just think if you look at teams like the Braves, they press the self-destruct button. To me, there's really not much of an argument because they sold everybody. The Cincinnati Reds did the same thing. They actually had some good pieces. And teams like the Padres, they tried to be good, but they didn't do too much with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Basically, man, I don't know. Rebuilds work out. All of them do. Every single rebuild. Depends on how fast.
Unless you're the Philadelphia 76ers, of course.
Well, yeah. But rebuilds always work because eventually you're gonna get a quality team out there. That's just what happens. That's why you go through a rebuild. 100% they work out. Eventually, sometime the 76ers will be good again.
I hope so.
It's just sports. I mean, the self-destruct button is not, we're giving up everything. Yeah, you're probably going to lose some fans and make fans mad, but do the fans really know what goes into a rebuild like that? No, they really don't. They see, if the White Sox trade, okay, think of it this way. Todd Frazier, drafted by the Reds, puts together a good season with the Reds. They realized, hey, he's a good talent. We probably need to get rid of him. They traded him. That's a hometown kid traded from the Reds. Okay, their fans were angry. The White Sox, he wasn't drafted by the White Sox. He didn't go up their system. So if you trade him, you lose. I mean, yeah, you lose home runs and stuff like that, but you're not going to win games if Todd Frazier hits a home run, but you still lose by 7.
Yeah.
I just think it's sell.
But their pitching staff has some good pieces. Obviously, Chris Sale, no doubt about it. And then Quintana's been really good with them as well. It's just, and they have a decent bullpen with David Robertson. He's been one of the better closers in the league this year. I mean, it's just that they have the pieces there. They just
can't find a way to win.
To me, it's on the role players. I can't name their catcher. I can't name their second
catcher's Alex Avila.
Alex Avila. Is their second baseman Jed Lowry still?
No, it's Brett Lowry.
Brett Lowry, my bad. It's just their role players to me aren't any good, and that's the reason why they can't put anything together. Because the division, it's competitive, but it's not like it's the NL Central where the Cubs or the Giants and the AL West are just gonna walk away with the division. It's still up for grabs. They just can't put the role players together. Anyway, my AL wildcard picks were where am I? Okay, it was the Indians and the Astros. The Indians, good pick for the playoffs, just not quite right. They looks like that they might capture the Central. Astros are right in the thick of things. If they can pick it up and get on a hot streak here, they could very easily get in the wild card as well. Any closing notes for the American League for you?
Nope. It's like I said at the beginning, it's going to be a fun season to watch. Every team, to some extent, was supposed to be competitive, and plus you're gonna weed out those teams, like the White Sox and
the A's,
the Rays. I mean, I even think that the Rays, the Rays have a competitive team.
Yeah, it's
just they're in a division that even if they go on a streak of winning 4 or 5 games, the other teams in the division have the potential of doing the same.
Same thing. Yep.
I mean, like the Diamondbacks. I mean, yeah, I love the Diamondbacks going into it. I mean, they have, Gene Segura is coming out of left field and playing great. There's just certainly, the Diamondbacks didn't expect Zach Greinke to go like 0 for 10 to start the season. And they
didn't expect Shelby Miller to be demoted to AAA. Did you hear about that one?
No.
Yeah,
no,
he got demoted down to AAA.
I wouldn't read too much into that. I think people have been trying to change the way he pitches so much that he's getting confused. I just think he needs to start pitching like he knows how, and then go out there and win ball games. He did it for the Cardinals. He can do it for anybody else.
I agree with you, but but with that said, he's still been terrible, and he's part of the reason why. His 7 ERA isn't going to help anybody.
Excuse me, can you expect anything less of him doing terrible? Yes, okay, you're right-handed, right? Aren't you right-handed?
Right, I am.
You write every day right-handed. Yep. If I told you tomorrow you have to start writing left-handed and it's got to be perfect, You wouldn't be able to do it. He's been pitching the same way his entire life, and then here in the last couple of years they told him to change it. You don't just change something like that if you've been doing it forever. That's
fair enough.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm not saying that he's not bad, because he is. He's been really bad. But that's what takes hard work. Nothing's given to you when you play baseball. You have to work at it and work at it and work at it some more. That's all he's got to do. And I think he'll be fine and be ready to go.
Speaking of the Diamondbacks, I made the boneheaded decision to put them in a wild card. Laugh at me all you want, because I deserve it. But with the rest of the National League, Alex, the one thing you and I did that looks kind of boneheaded is the fact that neither of us chose the Nationals to even get in the playoffs. We both had the Mets winning the East, which at the time looked like a pretty fine, smart decision. But when I was going back and listening to our podcast of our predictions coming into the season, one of the reasons that we didn't like the Nationals was the fact that their chemistry in the clubhouse
was awful.
It's terrible, yeah. That they seem to have fixed it up.
Yeah, man, they've always been that team that everybody picks to get in the playoffs and never do.
Right. Although with the injuries to the Mets pitching staff, it's looking like the Nationals will at the very least get a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, they were that team last year that had one superstar, and that was Bryce Harper. I mean, you can't really win a lot of games when one guy's putting out all of your offense. Their pitching staff last year was mediocre at best. But now Steven Strasburg is coming to the pitcher that everybody thought that he was going to be, and I'm glad to see that. I love watching Steven Strasburg pitch. Gio Gonzalez is actually pitching better. I mean, he's not great. He wasn't the Gio that he was when he was with the A's. But, I mean, I think that they're, like you said, the problem with the White Sox. I think that the role players for the Nationals are coming together and they're actually playing, like they should. Danny Espinosa is a star shortstop right now for him, and no one would have saw that coming. Daniel Murphy is playing a stud second base for him.
He might be an MVP.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not even a regular second baseman is the thing either. I mean, so, it's just, you just kind of have, baseball's a funny sport, and the way things work out is different at times. So, I mean, the Nationals are really, really good, and nothing to take away from them. At the start of the season, I didn't feel comfortable with picking them, and that's why I didn't.
No, and I didn't either, and that was partly because, one, their chemistry sucked, and two, that the Mets pitching staff was just that good. I really like what they had coming into the season with the Mets. We are both wrong on that. Now, if their pitching staff can suddenly get healthy and put it together and give the Nationals a challenge, that'll be fun to watch. But right now, it's looking like it's the Nationals' division to lose. Just a quick recap of the standings in the National League. Nationals are 7 over the Mets and the Marlins. The Cubs are 8 over the Cardinals, 9.5 over the Pirates, and the Giants are 5.5 over the Dodgers. Although in the NL West now, if we shift to that, the Giants look really good. Even with Hunter Pence out, he's been out for a couple weeks, if not maybe a month or two. They've looked really good without him, and once he comes back, their offense is going to be pretty scary. And the pitching staff has always been rock solid.
Yeah, Hunter Pence is their superstar. Kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody really thought of him nothing when he was with the Astros. He was really good then, but he wasn't the Hunter Pence he is now.
No.
He goes to the Phillies, plays really, really well, and is a huge corner piece for them. And they decided, hey, maybe it's time that we need to get rid of him and trade him somewhere else. And when the Giants picked him up, no one really thought nothing of it. I mean, it was just basically they were doing what the Giants and what the Cardinals usually do, adding a small piece that's hopefully going to pan out to something big. And by God, did they pick that right? Because he is huge right now. They lost Pablo Sandoval, who was their panda, and who was their guy Hunter Pence has stepped back into that role, and now he's San Francisco's guy again. They have, they have their guy, and I don't think that San Francisco baseball is the same if they don't have that one guy that gets stuff done. And I had the Giants winning the NL West,
Yep.
Which was, man, I don't know. The Dodgers just kind of are one of those teams that I think don't really put it together too much during this regular season, and if they get in, they get in, and the Cardinals usually beat them.
And it seems like if the Dodgers get in the playoffs, they sneak in. It's not like, oh yeah, the Dodgers are up 6 games and they're just gonna sort of walk in and be just fine. No, they usually kind of stumble down the stretch. Nothing ever really seems comfortable with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Except Clayton Kershaw. He's the only comfortable one on that roster.
But Clayton Kershaw has been awful in the playoffs. I mean, he's not done. He hasn't done anything in the playoffs, and if he goes into the Hall of Fame, he's well worthy of it. I mean, it's just hard for me to pick a team where your ace can't pitch in the playoffs. I don't think that's fair to your team that all of a sudden, you're able to suck and your team's got to go through the playoffs with a crappy ace. That's what's been good about the Cardinals. One of our aces goes down. Chris Carpenter came in and pitched awesome. Chris Carpenter retires. Adam Wainwright steps in and just goes off. I mean, it's just what they do. Speaking of the Cardinals, I also had them for the NL Central, and I had the Mets for the NL East. I don't know if you've touched on that, but I was just reiterating my picks. I still think that the Cardinals have the potential to get to the top of the NL Central. They need to start playing.
They need some luck involved too.
Yeah, I don't know about luck. I think they just need...
I'm not saying they won't, but there's a lot of things that need to go right with the Cardinals, and then there's a lot of things that need to go wrong with the Cubs. Because the way the Cardinals are playing right now, it's just so inconsistent, and to me it's... Unless the Cubs just go on a massive losing streak, it's hard to picture them coughing this division up.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for the Cardinals is they have one of their pitchers that comes out and does really good. Like Adam Wainwright came back, started right, like he should have, and I that's how he should get things done. And now every other pitcher needs to follow suit with that exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying go out and pitch 9 innings every single night, but I'm saying give your team a chance. Allow one
6 innings and 1 or 2 runs. Yeah,
exactly. 1 or 2 runs. If you can get 3, if your team's hitting real well for you that night, and you can hold them to 3, I think you still have a fairly good fighting chance. But none of this, going out giving up 5 runs and then being pissed off because you didn't get a win. Hey, that's on you. Your team can't, baseball isn't about a team who can score 5 runs every single night. Because if you could do that, you win almost every one of your games, and that's not going to happen. Speaking of that, the Cardinals game actually did just start. Marlins at the Cardinals to start it. It's Conley versus Waka right now. This game just got underway, so go watch that too. And then the Mets, I had real quick, your thoughts on the Central?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm getting a little tired of saying it, but the consistency in the pitching needs to step up a bit more. Wainwright's good. Martinez is good. I'm still waiting on Waka and Garcia and Leak. The offense, I'm not going to complain about the offense. They're doing just fine. But with the pitching, you don't need, like you said, you don't need to go out and throw a complete game shutout every time. Your offense is going to put up the runs. We've seen that this season. They're going to score 3, 4, 5, 6 runs. It sounds really stupid, but Alex, I know you said this a couple weeks ago. Baseball is about scoring more runs than the other team, but you don't need to score 10 runs to win. Just hold them to 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 runs, because that's how much I like the offense. You don't need to go out and throw a perfect game. Just give the game to your bullpen, who can hopefully hold it. Now, the issue is that the bullpen hasn't been able to hold it lately, but for the first couple months of the season, they were doing fantastic. Just if they can get the game over to the bullpen and have them hold it or have them not have the lead grow any bigger, the Cardinals will be fine. And the wild card is more than reachable. The Mets have rotation issues. The Marlins are young and have never been here before. They've never been close to the top of the wild card. The Dodgers, who knows where they're at with that pitching, and they're inconsistent, just like we said. The Cardinals can do this. It's not going to be all that difficult because the teams that they're competing with also have big holes to fill.
Exactly. And then just a quick touch on the NL East and the wild cards, just because, and your World Series predictions, just going on real quick because we're still going to get to a couple of things real quick before we stop this up. Before we quit this podcast, my NL East prediction was the Mets. I mean, and you touched on it perfect. There's nothing really more to say. Their pitching staff has gone down with injuries. I guess, I mean, they did bring back Jose Reyes, which they said they weren't going to do, but they brought him back. They're a team with a lot of problems, and that's basically how I'm going to leave that one. I don't really want to touch on dissecting the Mets. I don't watch them too much. I do watch the Giants and Dodgers a lot because that's the team usually Cardinals play, so I kind of keep tabs on them. But the Mets, if you're a Mets fan out there and you watch this, I'm not saying I don't care about your team, but I really don't care about your team. That's on that you're a fan of them. I'm not. Real quick, my wild card was the Cubs and the Pirates. I still think that that's a possibility. Right now, the Cubs are first, but I still think that it's either going to be the Cubs or the Cardinals in that wild card against the Pirates. Yeah. I don't see any other team really that's going to get in. And then my World Series was the Cubs win it over the Royals. If that happens, that is going to be a really, really fun World Series to watch. I would be super excited to watch that.
Real quickly, before I get to mine, just going through this again, who do you think would be your World Series prediction as of today?
Like right now?
Yeah, so say you throw out our predictions from before, and you have to go back and say, as of July 17th, who's in the World Series and who's your winner? Go ahead.
Well, I think the Cubs in the NL right now. Okay. I still think that. I don't think the Royals, good team. I just don't think it's really a three-team race for me in the AL between the Indians, who I think can get it done.
Indians look good, yeah.
The Red Sox, who I think can still get in there, and then the Orioles. I think right now, I am a Red Sox fan. They are my second favorite team. I have so much. What do you want to call it? Nostalgia, basically, for the Red Sox. Optimism for the Red Sox. I could see them getting in. I think that would be really fun to watch. Cubs and Red Sox would be really fun, or Cubs and Indians would be really fun. I would say that's my picks for that Cubs and Red Sox, and then backup would be Cubs and Indians.
Just real quick, my wild card was the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. Pretty stupid, I know. The Cubs obviously still could have a wild card spot, slight possibility. Diamondbacks are done; they are out of it. I am casting them off until next season. My World Series was the Mets over the Rangers. If the Mets didn't have all those pitching issues, I would still put the Mets over the Rangers. But, Alex, I'm going to change mine to the Cubs and the Rangers. I like what the Rangers are doing. If they can get Yu Darvish healthy and back to good old Yu Darvish form, to me they are a favorite. And the Cubs we've discussed before. That's all I have with the division predictions and previews and all that kind of stuff. Real quick, I want to get to your NL Cy Young, we'll do AL Cy Young, AL MVP, and AL Rookie of the Year. Go ahead.
AL Cy Young, pretty easy. Chris Sale. I'm not going to add on to that.
I'm not going to either.
If you pay attention, you should know what's going on with him. My AL MVP, kind of going to be a shock, but he's putting together a really good season. On his final season out of Major League Baseball and into the Hall of Fame, David Ortiz is going to be my MVP. He is the backbone of that Red Sox team, and I think if they make it into the playoffs and can make it to the World Series, no doubt MVP, putting together a monster season. I think he's got 72 RBIs already this year. So by that rate, he should have 144 RBIs. Mark Trumbo's putting together a nice season, a really, really good season, I would say. But I still don't think – I think David Ortiz has got all the fans kind of pulling for him.
Yeah.
I don't know any AL rookies, to be honest with you. I really can't think of any off the top of my head that
Dae-Ho Lee from the Mariners, maybe. I don't know. I don't think there's really Michael Fulmer from the Detroit Tigers pitchers having a really good season. Aaron Sanchez from the Blue Jays also having a good season pitching wise. I can pull up their numbers for you if you want me to real quick.
No, it's all good. I'll just say it this way, just because I don't really know of any AL rookies this year. Whoever wins it is going to be well deserving, no matter who wins it. I don't want to predict any because I don't know any. So,
I'm gonna go ahead.
I'll just say it's a congrats to whoever wins it. I have no predictions up until this point.
I can't name off any great position players off the top of my head. Rookie position players. Starting with what? AL MVP, Cy Young, Chris Sale. Yeah, pretty obvious. AL MVP, I'm gonna go with Manny Machado. If the Orioles win the division, I'm gonna go Manny Machado. If the Red Sox win the division, David Ortiz. Manny Machado is having just a spectacular season. He is so fun to watch, and just like Ortiz is the backbone of the Red Sox, Machado's the backbone of the Orioles. I think whoever wins that division, like I said, Red Sox, it'll be Ortiz. Orioles, it'll be Machado. And if the Blue Jays win, hell if I know. Probably Josh Donaldson. But I do feel like the MVP will come out of that AL East. AL Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Michael Fulmer from the Tigers. He's a pitcher. His stats are he's 9-2 with a 2.11 ERA. He's pitched 76 innings and a 1.10 WHIP. So he's obviously pitching really well, and he's starting to kill it this season. Good for him, and it's fun to watch him. I watched a couple of his starts, and he's a good young pitcher. He's only 23 years old. So moving over to the NL, Alex, all you.
NL, Cy Young, hands down, Steven Strasburg.
Really?
I don't. He's like 10-0.
He's actually 13-0.
Okay, so he's 13-0. What are you talking about, really? You acting like I just picked a dumb pick. Hands down, in my eyes, Steven Strasburg.
Okay.
I don't care what Johnny Cueto's doing. He's got a loss. Steven Strasburg does not. So Steven Strasburg is my Cy Young Award winner. What's the next one? MVP? MVP. I'm going to go back-to-back MVPs for Bryce Harper this year.
Okay.
He's just a stud. Okay, and then my NL rookie, I get to watch the one almost every day, which kind of it's making me a little biased towards him. But he's a close second in my eyes. But it's Corey Seager for me from the Dodgers. And the other guy I was talking about is Aledmys Diaz. He's been a stud. But Corey Seager is my pick. Was an all-star, participated in the home run derby. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the NL is kind of more cut and dry than the AL is.
Yeah. My only disagreement is going to be your Cy Young. I have Clayton Kershaw. I know he's been hurt. He'll be back soon, but it's just so hard for me to pick against him. He's just so good. Steven Strasburg was probably a second. Now, if Kershaw gets hurt again, I'm going to put in Strasburg 1. I think it'll be Kershaw Strasburg 1-2. But it could be pretty close. I'm not going to say it's a Strasburg runaway. He's just going to walk away with it. Strasburg will get some first place votes, but I'm going to go Kershaw. MVP, I'm going to go with Chris Bryant. I don't like saying his name. I don't like the Cubs, but he's just been so good, and he's been the leader of that team. It's once again hard for me to pick him or pick against him. Bryce Harper, he's good, obviously. He's great, obviously. But I don't think he's putting up as much offensively as he did last season. And with the rise of the Cubs, it's just hard for me to pick against a Cub. Rookie of the Year, once again, agree with you, Corey Seager. Right now, he's just one step above Aledmys Diaz, but not by much. Diaz will get some Rookie of the Year votes, but to me, it is Seager.
Hold on real quick. Hold on just 1 second, because we might get into an argument here there, Paul. Well, come on, computer, let's go. Okay, real quick, we're going to discuss this real quick. Okay, Steven Strasburg's stats right now.
Okay.
13-0, has a 1,000 win-loss percentage, obviously. Got a 2.51 ERA. That's the only really ones that I care about. Clayton Kershaw, 11-2. He does have a 1.79 ERA, which is really good.
That's insane.
But
look at his WHIP, 0.73.
Okay, hold on. Where are we? Where am I? Okay. Yeah, and okay, but I'm Paul. He's 13-0. I don't.
Part of this too is
how can you?
Part of this too is the win-loss record is pretty deceiving, because if your offense is no good, you're going to be like a Shelby Miller last season, who was like 6-50 on the season. He couldn't win a game to save his life, but he was pitching the daylights out of the ball. But nobody ever knew because his win-loss record was so terrible. Yeah, he was an all-star, and he was extremely good. And he probably should have gotten some Cy Young votes. It just this is the other end of the extreme. Steven Strasburg, to me, no doubt, is the second best pitcher in the league. But his offense is really good, and his bullpen is going to nail down a win for him, even though he didn't do all of the work. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the opposite of the Shelby Miller with the Atlanta Braves argument. No one ever knew Miller was any good because his win-loss record sucked and his team sucked, so they never could get him any wins. Steven Strasburg's team is really, really good. And a 2.51 ERA is great. But like I said, for Kershaw, he's 1.73 ERA, 0.73 WHIP or something like that.
Okay, so real quick, you're going to tell me that the Dodgers aren't a really good team in the regular season?
Not as good as the Nationals. Not nearly as good as the Nationals. When you pitch for the Nationals, you are more likely to get a win because your offense is going to put up numbers. You're going to have a lead. Your bullpen's going to nail down you a win. With the Dodgers, their offense isn't nearly as good, in my opinion. Their bullpen's pretty solid, but you're more likely to get a win for the Nationals than you are with the Dodgers.
Okay, so then how do you explain last year Zimmerman's pitching numbers weren't all that good for the Nationals? Steven Strasburg's weren't all that good. Gio is not all that good. Strasburg is the only pitcher in the Nationals rotation that is of any kind good.
Well, Scherzer's pretty good.
Scherzer is having a down year. Let's be honest.
Okay, but we already discussed it. For last year's Nationals weren't nearly as good. They had their own issues. They weren't playing like a team at all. If you gave a lead to Jonathan Papelbon, he was probably going to blow it.
All I'm saying is that Zach Greinke and Clayton Kershaw have gone number 1 and number 2 for in like their rotation for like the last before this year 2 or 3 years, and were the studs of the team, and that's 2 pitchers, not just one. That's 2. So your team's scoring runs for 2 pitchers.
But that second pitcher doesn't matter because there's only one guy on the mound.
I'm trying.
Clayton Kershaw has no bearing on what Zach Greinke does, and vice versa.
Okay, real quick. Let's think about this real quick. Starting catchers for both teams. You have Grandal versus Ramos. Really? I guess this year. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Okay, Zimmerman versus Adrian Gonzalez.
I don't know what type of year Zimmerman's having, but I know Gonzalez isn't having all that great of a season.
Zimmerman's having a Zimmerman season. If he doesn't hit a home run, he strikes out.
Okay, well, I'll take Zimmerman then because Gonzalez is having a down year.
I would take Agon hands down. If you gave me the option between Zimmerman and Adrian Gonzalez is on my team 10 out of 10 times.
2 or 3 years ago, sure, but I think age is starting to catch up with him at some point.
I don't know who plays second base for the Dodgers, but obviously I'm going to
Howard Kendrick.
Dude, I don't even know. Obviously, I'm going to pick Daniel Murphy on that one, so it doesn't matter.
And then Corey Seager.
Shortstop. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now here we go. Here's the real debate for the teams, I think. The third base. You're Rendon versus Justin Turner.
I haven't watched enough of Turner. I haven't watched enough of Turner. I'll take Rendon. It's because he's having a stellar season.
You're so biased, Paul.
For what?
But because Justin Turner is so much better than Anthony Rendon. Now, a couple years ago when Rendon was a rookie and was supposed to be the next, like he was supposed to be Manny Machado before Manny Machado. Okay, that's understandable. But Justin Turner overall is going to have a better season than Rendon.
Rendon is batting .255 with 10 home runs and 341 OBP with 35 RBIs. Justin Turner's .259 with 14 home runs, a 340 OBP, and 46 RBIs. They're pretty close to the same player. Maybe Turner slightly over Rendon, but not by much.
Okay. I don't know who. Center field is going to be the Dodgers because the Nationals don't have a center fielder.
No.
Left field, because they have Worth. I don't know.
Jason Worth or who's in? Is it Puigs in right? Who's in left?
Is it Thompson? Trace Thompson?
Could be. Yeah. Let me see their roster here.
Because I think they dropped Carl Crawford.
They did. Yeah, they actually designated him. Let's see. Depth chart for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Their left fielder is, if my internet will load, Trace Thompson. Yeah. Puigs in right, Peterson's in center.
Okay, so I'll give the Nationals right field. Center field, I'm taking Jock Peterson.
I'll take Jock Peterson over Ben Revere. Yeah.
Okay, and then obviously we're going to take Bryce Harper just because it's Bryce Harper. But
right.
Okay, so the only ones for sure that we're taking over one or the other is catcher.
Right
we're going to take Ramos, and right field we're taking Bryce Harper, and those are and second base.
Second base.
Okay, now tell me right now, out of the team you just picked, out of the 2 teams, so you have your Ramos, you have Zimmerman, Murphy, Seager. You basically have the entire Nationals roster. Basically. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of mixed in between the two. So you're going to – okay, so right now, if you had to win a game between Strasburg, at this point, Strasburg and Clayton Kershaw, like Game 7, World Series, need a win, who you going to?
Clayton Kershaw. What experience? What experience does Strasburg have? I would rather have because the law of averages, it's going to work in Kershaw's favor eventually. He's going to get in the playoffs and he's going to start mowing down guys. Strasburg's never even been in the playoffs, except for maybe once. when he played the Cardinals, when the Cardinals beat the Nationals in 5 games. I would rather have some experience and not have it be a good experience than have no experience with Strasburg. Because that's basically what you're getting.
Paul, I'm going to jump to the computer screen and choke you. Clayton Kershaw is terrible in the playoffs. He's awful. If it came down to a Game 7 and you're going to offer me Strasburg or Clayton Kershaw with Clayton Kershaw's record of getting smashed by every team he's ever played, you're going to
He's the best pitcher in the game, and it's not even close.
I'm not talking about in the game, Paul. I'm talking playoffs, Game 7, World Series. But at
the same time, we're not even talking about playoff Game 7 World Series. We're talking about Cy Young over the course of a season.
The whole Cy Young vote is if you're in a need-to-win game, you're going to hand the ball to this person over the next person.
Fair enough.
Steven Strasburg is the Cy Young Award winner as of right now, halfway through, because there's nobody in their right mind is going to hand the ball to Clayton Kershaw over Steven Strasburg right now.
No, I don't agree with that. I think Clayton Kershaw, he's the best pitcher in the game. It's not even close. So you're telling me you're telling me
he's the best pitcher in the game. That's fine. We're talking 1 year, Paul. 1 year. If Clayton Kershaw racks up 14 Cy Young awards, great. Then hands down, best pitcher that will ever
he's probably
live
going
or
to
see in our lifetime. And he probably will. This year is not his year to win.
I mean, to me, it's not that clear cut, too.
Right now, at the end of this, at the halfway mark of the season, Steven Strasburg's taking Cy Young Award, no doubt. Because the Cy Young Award winners are like, oh, he played this well, so good through the season. No, it's if I have a game that's on the line, I need to win to move on. Who am I handing the ball to? And it's not Clayton Kershaw.
To me, that just sounds ridiculous because we all know Clayton Kershaw is the best. So you wouldn't hand the pitcher you wouldn't hand the ball to the best player in the game?
Not right now, no. Because the best pitcher in the game this year, right now, is Steven Strasburg.
I don't agree. I just can't say that he's been the best because he's not. His stats don't back it up either.
13-0.
Okay, moving beyond the wins-loss, which to me is very biased and very misleading. When it comes to pure pitching, Kershaw's been better.
Okay, I'll tell you this right now.
And when you're not even number one in your rotation, come on.
Kershaw, I believe, won the Cy Young in 2011, going 21-5 with a 2.28 ERA. That's really good. You know how he won that one? How he won that Cy Young? Record. Based solely off his record.
I'd have to look at the stats. And the thing to me is that Kershaw has I'm looking at it here. 112 or 14. Okay, never mind. But Kershaw, he's pitched more innings. He's pitched 7 more innings, but he's been hurt for a couple weeks, and he still has more strikeouts than Strasburg too.
The thing is for that though is that's not Strasburg's fault that his bullpen is good.
No, but that helps him.
But I'm telling you right now, Strasburg could pitch. Okay, here's what I think is wrong about Major League Baseball. I'm gonna go on a rant here real quick, and you're probably gonna love this, Paul. I'm not gonna lie. When a guy in your pitching rotation, let's say at this point in time, let's say he's like 6-0. If he goes 6 innings, has roughly, let's say, 80 some odd pitches. Okay, he's at 6 innings, not giving up a run. You're winning 3-0. Your manager is like, oh, let's pull him and we'll save him.
Yep.
Okay, the Dodgers don't have that option if Clayton Kershaw is pitching. Clayton Kershaw has to throw 7, 8, 9 innings a game. He basically has to give the ball. It's got to go from Clayton Kershaw. If it's leaving his hand, it basically has to go from Clayton Kershaw to Kenley Jansen. There's nobody in the middle of that. So that's not Strasburg's fault that's how that works.
But you're essentially making the case for Kershaw saying that because you're saying that he has more work to do because his team can't pull him up. So,
but that's not Clayton Kershaw's decision to make.
No,
Steven
no.
Strasburg could be like, hey coach, I want to go 9 innings today. The coach is going to laugh at him. But if Clayton Kershaw's like, hey coach, I want to go 9 innings today, the coach is like, sure, because we don't have a bullpen, so you're basically all we got, kid. Go on and have some fun. That's Steven Strasburg. Like right now, Steven Strasburg's so rested and he's 13-0. It's not even funny. Clayton Kershaw throws 400 innings a year.
But part of that is because the Nationals do have a pretty good bullpen. Strasburg doesn't have to go 7, 8, 9 innings because his manager can pull him and he can still maintain that lead and they will get him a win. If Kershaw does that and you're not putting in Kenley Jansen, they may not hold up that win for him.
But that's you're just making my case easier. You're telling me that he pitches more innings and has more strikeouts. If Steven Strasburg, let's say he's consistently pitching 6 innings a game. I don't know how many innings he has because I don't know.
114.
Okay, 114 over
Kershaw
17.
Kershaw has 121, and he's been hurt.
What is it? Hold on. I'm just going to do it real quick. 114 divided by 17. So he's going 6 2/3 every game. That's his average, about 6 2/3 every game. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that Clayton Kershaw is probably going to average about 7.
Yeah,
I would say 7, 8, probably. I would say. And
he's going longer into games, and he has the lower stats. I don't know what else there is to say. If you're going longer into games and you put up the lower numbers, I mean,
okay, let's just think of this real quick, just to help me prove my point, just real quick. You have a reliever; he allows one run in his inning of work. Okay. It's an earned run. That means he has a 9 ERA.
Yep.
There's 9 innings. Okay, so if Clayton Kershaw goes one more inning and doesn't allow a run, brings it down. If Steven Strasburg doesn't go that extra inning because his manager pulls him, he doesn't have an opportunity to lower his ERA. He doesn't get the opportunity to do that.
But at the same time,
this all falls on the manager. The Cy Young Award.
His fault. Yeah.
The Cy Young Award comes down to which manager decides, hey,
and I
Kershaw, our bullpen sucks. You're going 10 innings today.
And you just pointed out the exact reason of why we're having this debate. Because the manager can pull them. They have different philosophies on how they manage their bullpen and how they manage the game, and that's fine. But you just pointed out the one flaw and the reason that we're having this argument to begin with. When Steven Strasburg can go 6 innings and have an exit with a 1-run lead, and his bullpen can go boom, 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 ball game over, get him the win, that helps him a lot. When Clayton Kershaw can't do that because his bullpen is not nearly as good and he has to put in more work, or say that if he did go 6 innings, his bullpen might surrender that lead, even though Kershaw pitched the hell out of himself and the best he could, but his bullpen blew the lead, so he doesn't get the win. That's not on Clayton Kershaw.
No, but Clayton Kershaw also has 2 losses to his record.
Okay, I'm curious to know if that can be attributed to his bullpen. Let me pull up his game log here.
Okay. All I'm saying, the difference between the two, the real big difference between them, is that it's not that I am totally agreeing with you. I think Clayton Kershaw is hands down the best pitcher in the all-around game. For years and years to come, Clayton Kershaw is going to be that number 1 guy that everybody wants. All I'm saying that separates the two, it's not because Steven Strasburg can't go 7, 8 innings. It's because they won't allow him to go 7.
Because they have bullpen guys who can do that.
Okay, But that's not Strasburg's fault that they have
No,
Baldwin.
you're right. So this whole argument can basically be boiled down to which manager's philosophy do you like more?
I'll tell you this right now. If Steven Strasburg can go, even if he loses 1-2 games at the end of the season and goes into the playoffs and just wrecks house, I'm going to take Dusty Baker. I love Dusty Baker over the Dodgers manager. I don't even know the Dodgers manager because they were stupid on getting rid of Don Mattingly. That was dumb. That was the dumbest decision the Dodgers probably will ever make in their life, besides letting Zach Greinke walk out of the door.
Look at how the Marlins are doing with Don Mattingly now. They're in a playoff hunt.
Exactly. All I'm saying is when it comes to the Cy Young Award, it's not their season was so great. It's if I have a decisive Game 7 today and I need to hand the ball to somebody, I want this guy. And right now, in my eyes, there's nobody that I'd rather hand it to than Steven Strasburg.
I think it's a little of both. And I'll wrap it up by saying this. I think it's a little bit of both. Because the Cy Young Award is a regular season award. It's not a postseason Game 7 who pitches the best award. But at the same time, you do have to ask yourself that question if you are trying to compare between two pitchers, because there's really nowhere else to compare. But the Cy Young is a regular season award, and if you want to differentiate, that's when you have to ask yourself that question.
Basically, the way the voting goes down for these awards is if they tie in this one category, we got to go to the next one. If they tie in this one, next one. And eventually, I think it's going to – I don't think that it's fair judging a Cy Young award based off just regular season.
But it's a regular season award.
I think that it should be partially a postseason award, because I think that people vote on it based on if I had a Game 7, I would hand it to this person. Yes, Clayton Kershaw's putting up great numbers again. He's going to have another great season. I'm not debating that at all. We'll never debate that at all. Steven Strasburg, yes, hasn't really proven himself, but I think this year, with going 13-0, I don't think there's anybody more deserving than Steven Strasburg. It gets old when the same guy wins the same freaking award every single year.
Well, that's up to the other guys to actually to do something about it. And Steven Strasburg so far has.
Exactly, but think of it that way, though. Steven Strasburg's putting it up, and yet still people are like, it's whatever. Clayton Kershaw's the best. Give it to him. Steven Strasburg is putting up that one fight everybody wants, but everybody's still handing it to Clayton Kershaw.
Because Kershaw's given us no reason to not give it to him.
And to this point this year, Steven Strasburg has given you every point to give it to him.
We've gotten so used to seeing Kershaw pitch and pitch so well that we just sort of know he's the best.
Here's what we'll do. If you guys watch this episode of this podcast, put down in the comments or talk to us on our Facebook and Twitter page.
I'm going to put up a vote on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah.
Tell us what you think it is. If you don't watch baseball and you're just kind of a fan because it's a Cardinal page, then don't put anything in because it's a biased vote. I want people who actually pay attention to what's going on a daily basis to baseball to vote. I'm not saying say yes or no and give us your explanation. Give us a yes or no and then maybe a couple words as to why. And I don't want you to say Clayton Kershaw is my vote and then for your explanation go because he's Clayton Kershaw. Because I'm throwing that out. That doesn't count. That's stupid. Because I could just go, well, it's Steven Strasburg. He's 13-0. That's my counter to that. Give us a real explanation as to why. If you're like, hey, Clayton Kershaw is best all-around pitcher and he's got an 11-2 and he's pitched more innings, well, basically all what Paul said, that's a fair vote. And like I said, me and Paul, we don't hate each other because of this disagreement as to this. It's a good debate to have, and that's why baseball is awesome, because these debates can happen. Because there's going to be people that are going to jump my balls because David Ortiz, I said, is going to win the MVP. And people
I think that's entirely possible. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that on that one.
I don't understand why people have so much of a difficult time putting a DH as an MVP or in the Hall of Fame. But apparently, if you just bat and hit 40 home runs every year, that's not enough.
Yeah.
But other than this debate, this video went really, really long, longer than what we expected it to go. We kind of got into, a little bit of debate, hit on all of our points. But if you don't have anything else, Paul,
that's all I got. I'll let you wrap it up, bud.
I have nothing else. It was a great All-Star week. I forgot to record the All-Star game. I do know who won. I saw how the runs were scored. The AL wins again.
To be honest with you, that's all right.
Yeah, I saw that the scoring stopped at the fourth inning, so I wasn't too. But the AL did win again. The final score was 4-2. I don't know who got MVP.
Eric Hosmer.
No. Eric Hosmer gets MVP of the All-Star game. Well deserving. I really like him. 4-2 AL win. They get home field advantage when it comes to the World Series time, which is a huge credit to them. But other than that, I got nothing else for you. Congrats to Giancarlo Stanton for winning the home run derby. Congrats to Eric Hosmer on the MVP. We will try and do another podcast. We're back to the normal schedule this week. Yep. Wednesday's going to be league news. Sundays is going to be Cardinal news, kind of breaking it up, making it shorter. Tune into those. Also, we have the previews to the series coming up. Dodgers up this coming weekend. So stay tuned for that. Pages to Facebook, Twitter pages. But thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Alex Schneider. For my co-host, Paul Epi. This has been the 11th Inning Stretch podcast, the half-season wrap-up. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys next time.